To moderate this session, can I please welcome Emeka Obia to the mic, please, as I bring forward the moderation.
Please make some noise to or for Emeka. He's also been the brain behind the technology side of this conference with everything you've been seeing. Please, a round of applause to Emeka Obia, Gen Z.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry, soon would be lunch time, but before lunch, we want to go into the final session for this afternoon. We're going to be talking AI, which in recent times have become one of the most interesting buzzwords. And to be joining me on this panel, I'd like to firstly invite Mr. Patrick Gomez. Patrick Gomez is the Chief Strategy and Knowledge Director, Omnicom Media Group. Please put your hands together as he comes on stage. You're welcome, Mr. Patrick. Good to see you. Okay, and next I will be inviting Ms. Funke Adekola, the Managing Director of Densu Creative. Please put your hands together as she makes her way up to the stage. Ms. Funke Adekola, Managing Director, Densu Creative. And then finally, to join us on the stage, I'd like to invite Mr. Realone Ajiferuke, Executive Director, Plural Media. Mr. Realone, please put your hands together as he joins us on stage. Are we tired of clapping? Yes, that's better. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so right, so generative AI in the industry. I think in the last 6 months to 1 year, I'm sure everybody in the industry has been talking about AI, its impact, you know, how we're using it for work across our different sectors. But I think on a broader scale, I just want to start with the question to say, what is generative AI really? What is it, and how is it currently impacting our industry? And you know, I'll start with Mr. Patrick, so you can speak from a media perspective, and then we'll move over to Funke. So, what is generative AI, and how is it currently impacting your industry?
Yeah, thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Often we use AI and generative AI, interchangeably. The fact is, when you visualize the iceberg, you see the tip of the iceberg, and you see a hard rock, solid thing which is basically holding that iceberg. That's the simple pictorial definition of AI and generative AI. So generative AI essentially is nothing but working on historical data and all that basically sits within the ecosystem and helping generate, in quotes, new content and not old content. New content which can be text, visuals, videos, etc., etc. So it's a blue sky which helps us basically understand many things. Now, when you switch to media agency or advertising, media advertising as we call it over here, AI has got a role to play, and generative AI has got a definitely role to play. Now, when you look at how, for example, the status quo was challenged in the media advertising industry, okay, and I say media advertising because that really challenged. So we gave this example of, you don't want to be dinosaurs in the industry, which have become extinct, which means you need to embrace digital marketing. So that basically set the tone, saying that, okay, we need to understand and ensure that we take control of digital marketing. And then with progress in time, including enhancing the value and also the product, we've seen many things coming our way, and we've taken the bull by its horn. So we had e-commerce that came in as part of digital marketing to enhance. We had data that came in much later. Of course, it was intertwined, but it came in and we took it head on. And now we have AI. And as agencies, AI and generative AI, as agencies, we're trying to take it head on. Let me give you a simple example. Within Omnicom Media Group, we have an active panel in Nigeria with about 2,800 people that are present in 7 markets. And this is not new, this has been in existence for 3 years. What we realized over a period of time that we have lots of data in that, and there are a lot of hidden gems in that. The FOMO, or maybe even the fear of failure, limits people to use that data. And so the next wave we've kind of got into is generative AI, which means a query-based question, and then you have the answers ready. And it's not just one answer, but there are like 3 or 4 answers which basically help you choose what you should be choosing and helping make some sense out of the data. So essentially, it is actually helping you and not making you lazy, because you to an extent were, but now it is prompting you to take action, because it's really helping you to kind of give you some direction for you to then build your own story or craft your own story. So that's how we in an agency network are kind of taking it head on.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, clearly you're very passionate about this topic, and I can see that you're already implementing as well. Okay, so over to the lady. So from a creative agency perspective, how would you say AI is currently reshaping that space?
Thank you. You're absolutely correct. Whenever we talk about AI, I tell people it's already part of our lives. A lot of us don't even just realize it. From as little as if you have Spotify, if you have Apple Music, the predictive, you listen to this playlist, we're recommending this for you. That is AI. When you're typing on WhatsApp and it's the predictive text completing your messages, telling you the next word that would come in based on things that you see all the time, that is AI. It's already part of our lives, right? It's already within us in what we do. It's already shaping our experiences, so there's no need to be afraid of it. Regarding the industry, personally, at this stage, I'm excited. I had my misgivings, but I'm excited because in our experience so far, it's basically augmented productivity. It's augmented the creative process, like you said. A lot of agencies, mine included, has priority. We have our own personalized, data tools, when it comes to gathering data, but when it comes to finessing those data as to what you need, to harvest the data in the space of minutes, you don't research, you want, okay, these are the inferences I need, and it gives me options to work with. Then I can streamline and still get that, narrow down to what I need. That increases our efficiency. It helps us get from a point A to point B quicker, from the point of ideation, so from the point of insight mining from that data, to the point of ideation, to the point of selling the idea, to the point of executing the idea, because you have, first you're doing it faster and quicker, you have a lot of help, because it's basically a personal assistant, and you are able to be efficient in every stage of what you do, right? Also, what I would say about the industry at large, and a lot of people that have sat here today have said something about it at one point or the other. Yeah. Like the lady said, I think it was Kemi Longe that said, look, critical thinking is very, very important. You're the human behind this machine, so it's very, very important to take charge of it and use it as a tool rather than let it control everything that you do. And that's the only thing that will keep you special, right? And personally, I think that in doing that, we are able to stay ahead. And things will definitely change. Before social media, at a point in time, hearing something like a role of a community manager or a page handler, that's not a position. That's not a role you would ever think of. But it has come to stay today. I'm hiring people to manage people's social media platforms. That was not a thing. So there will be changes in roles. There will be changes in skill sets, right? And there will be new business models that would come up to adjust for this. The important thing is to stay ahead of it, and to be the first at it, to keep, and also keep adjusting our skill set to stay at the top of it all.
Great, thank you, Funke. I think something that you said that I picked out is human intelligence also working together with the artificial intelligence, because it also needs you in terms of the inputs and the quality of the prompts and so forth. Thanks for that input. Over to you, Mr. Rewan. What's your point of view? How is it reshaping your industry? And with that, I would also want you to just dive into the out-of-home space as well and share examples, if there are any, how AI is currently being used in out-of-home advertising.
Okay, in particular to our space and the country as it were, I think it is still more of an evolving phenomenon.
Okay.
Because we've not really had a whole lot of such being implemented at the moment. But that's not to say we don't have any that has been used. And clearly, what you find in such situation has been, it gives room for engagement. And I mean, so basically we're saying that even though outdoor is bringing to bear eyeballs, one of the things we can't take away is the fact that out of home still remain a platform that is one to many. So when we talk about personalization, which is part of what AI brings to bear in our practice, we also need to recognize the fact that with AI coming into play, part of the opportunity you can achieve, I mean, that is there for brands is the fact that you can display content as at when you want. You also have the big data that is also, helping to provide you with audience demographics and traffic counts. And when you marry all of this together, it means that I don't have to be at a particular location when I don't have any reason to be there. So an all-day exposure might actually not be necessary. So it means at the end of the day, there's a return on investment which everybody is actually hammering on. And so with the return on investment, it goes both ways, for the practitioners and also for the brands. So basically what you're bringing to bear will be efficiency and effectiveness.
Efficiency and effectiveness. Thank you very much, Mr. Rewan. I'll move over to Mr. Patrick, but before then, I'll just want to mention that for this session, we'll also be taking questions from, using Slido. So at some point, the barcode will come up on the screen. So at any point, you can begin to input your questions, and we'll take the questions through the platform. So for you, you have already started speaking about this earlier, but just in specific terms now, how would you say AI currently is being used in how you plan and how you buy currently within your agency? How has it affected your media planning and your media buying processes?
So if you look at AI, let me first, bust the myth with some facts. Let me start by saying, and this is based on what I've seen, what I've read, what I've experienced. Currently, AI is underhyped. It's not overhyped. Okay, let's take it, the way it is. It is underhyped and not overhyped. Why am I saying so? Is we need to understand, if you really look at how, infrastructure is kind of, supporting these basically backends. If you look at, what mobile phones were, maybe the prediction versus actuals, including cloud, including, how Google has grown in terms of their data centers over the last couple of years. Google has in fact grown by 80%, Microsoft has grown by almost 100% in the 2 or 3 year span in terms of data centers. So they're basically creating a lot of, what you call as supply. And that is basically the gap which currently exists from a demand perspective. So that's one thing. We need to understand that, it is something which we have to take control of, and we have to ensure that we try to do our best. Now, how we are basically leveraging this in our media advertising kind of a setup. So let's say, idea generation. Typically, when you look at idea generation, or let me take a step back. When you look at insight mining, often people go wrong in terms of what an insight could be. often people will ensure that, they misinterpret fact as insight. And a fact is fact, that is a what, but the why is something which gets misinterpreted. So an example, that women wear lipstick. That's the fact, that's a reality. Women wear lipstick either to stand out in the crowd, that's a why. There's another why, they possibly wear lipstick to be part of the crowd. Now, depending on how I would want to interpret, the category context plays a very pivotal role in this one. So how I interpret that, insight is, or how I mine those insights or set of insights is very important. Now, that's a game changer for a media advertising kind of a setup, because you really are dependent on a lot of, data, which is the fact, often misinterpreted as insight, but the probing of why is missing. Now, let's go to the other aspect of it. For example, we are trying to understand ideas, okay? Your insight helps you to possibly craft an idea, right? Now, for example, Coca-Cola's open happiness, that's fabulous, because an idea has to be, what you call as big idea, has to be actionable, right? So if your big idea isn't actionable, it isn't a big idea. It needs to be a big idea which is actionable. So if you visualize Coke or Coca-Cola's open happiness, including, we look at what Nigeria did when it came to Pepsi, which is long throat, these are actionable ideas and how they were implemented. So if you look at Coca-Cola's open happiness, they have about thousands of examples of how it was implemented across the world. So idea generation, and idea generation is simple technique using AI, which basically helps you to understand what are the possible ideas. It actually prompts you to think versus, only you thinking. So when you have 3 or 4 areas which possibly help you to, craft your idea, and, for you to confirm whether 1, 2, 3, or 3, 4, 5, or whatever makes sense, you have then the decision maker, and then the rest is, left to you to craft the entire thing. So those are 2 important things which help us. Of course, from a media planning perspective, if you want to really maybe clone from past, again, I would say new plans, not the old plans, because we have this tendency of creating maybe, copy paste and possibly using maybe, so we are also behaving like generative AI to a certain extent, but it helps you based on the context, based on the inputs that you gave, it helps you possibly, clone from the past, and that's really the pedigree of the agency, which has been able to build some history into the data bank or into the ecosystem, which allows you to possibly craft what can be the media strategies and so on and so forth, including a schedule. So if you want to really create a schedule, maybe from a handmade to machine-made, that's the shift we are seeing in terms of creating something much more at a faster pace as we progress in life with AI and generative AI.
Thanks, Patrick. You talked about idea generation, and I would, want to also address this question to Funke, especially because there are also a lot of creative people here, whether in formal agencies or just creatives as individuals. Now, for you, and also from your experience, because you've also spoken about how you're currently using it, how it makes the work faster, how it makes the work, how it pushes for efficiency. Now, are there any limitations, right, or even ethical concerns, that you have identified when it comes to applying AI, especially with creative productions? For you, what would be those limitations or those concerns ethically that you think is important for people here to know?
Thank you. You're very right. I think the first thing I'll speak to, I think it was Kemi Lungi that said it again. It seems like I heard everything she said. The fact that if you're overly dependent on AI, people can tell at some point. After a while, it'll be obvious that you didn't do this as a person, right? Because generative AI is built off of existing data, existing stuff that people have done, because it learns, every day from what we do. I'll give you an example. Earlier this year in January, I prompted Midjourney something, I can't remember what it was, but something to do with Nigeria, to give me the map and stuff. And the map that came up was that of Africa with a lot of green. It was just funny. It couldn't come up with it, right? Because it hadn't learned that at that point, right? So it is not a human being, right? So the one key challenge and one key thing that I see is that could happen is being overly dependent on it, and then become lazy in doing your work, especially creative work. not being able to do anything without the help of it, that is a very bottomless pit that we are, we have the danger of falling into. So we need to be very aware of how we use it as a tool and not let it replace us, as creatives, right? Also, like I said earlier, AI is built off, generative AI is built off database. It's built off of existing data, existing information. Whatever information you put from here, from different parts of the world, contributes to it in general. So that when I prompt it and ask for something, or I want to work with it, I want you to brainstorm, it is based off of the information that it already has, right? So now begs the question: who owns the IP to content that I create with the AI? Is it that person's whose work that has already been copyrighted, that person's intellectual property that's been used to train this AI, or me who has, done the prompt engineering and done the prompting and all of that? Who owns it? And this is still evolving at the moment. There's a lot of conversation around it. I think the framework for the legal implications when it comes to that is still in the works. And I'm sure sometime in the future, we'll make progress with that, because if you look at current social media, at some point, in the past, I would create a video and slap on a song on it and I post it. It's not a problem. But now, if I put it on, it gets pulled down saying, oh, that song. So it's gone from beyond what everybody can just do something with to the point where it's being regulated. People who own property that you're using or content that you're adding to yours are earning from it. They're not stopping you from using it, but they're earning from it, and it's being done the right way, right? So that limitation is currently in existence right now because it is just developing, but I think it is something that will get figured out, because, we're still in the process of it. So intellectual property and ethical use of it is one thing. I think the last part of it is the ethical use of it. Like I said, deepfake is a real thing, right? And those are the bad things that AI can be used for. And it's very, very important that we use it responsibly. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and I said, look, at the end of the day, I think how it turns out, because there are a lot of fears, and I'm sure you get to that, a lot of fears regarding AI, right? I think where we end up, it largely depends on how we use it, how responsibly we decide to use it, how self-regulated we are with using AI, because that's what's going to determine where we end up in the future, whether it is something that augments our life, our experiences, our work, our industries, and everything that we do, or something that takes over entirely, and there's general breakdown. But those challenges, I think, is very, very important. And I think it's very important for us to have at the back of our mind to use AI responsibly and ethically.
Okay. So ethical and responsible usage. Thank you very much for that submission, Funke. Mr. Real earlier, you did mention, of course, the uniqueness of your industry and how it's evolving. From your perspective, right, seeing how Mr. Patrick earlier said that AI is currently underhyped, even though it's the biggest phenomenon out there now, but he still believes it's underhyped, meaning that he believes there's so much more use for AI, especially within our industry and in other industries. For you, how do you think that AI can genuinely support? We know that is not happening right now from what you said, but how do you think that AI can genuinely bring value to your space, and what sort of value do you see it bring in the next 1, 2, 3 years? What do you think it would take to accelerate that evolution that you spoke about earlier?
I think clearly what we're about to experience is going to be mind-blowing. Mind-blowing in the sense that we're talking about a platform that gives you the opportunity to be flexible. Not only to be flexible, to also be able to create content that can be engaging. So basically, what we're talking about here is that beyond saying that you're seeing that ad on a typical billboard, we're saying let's marry offline and online. That's what AI is bringing to the table. And so clearly, that engagement goes beyond what is about to happen is you're talking about brand awareness, you're talking about increase in sales. You're equally talking about the fact that all of this can be measured. So it's not about saying that this happened, but you can do a back check of what we are talking about now when we are bringing all of this things to bear. But again, part of what we are going to see is a huge investment in technology. And clearly, I can tell you that a good number of those who are practicing in digital out-of-home space currently in this country have invested a whole lot. I think probably what we're waiting for are the willing collaborators in that space to make this happen. And when we say collaborators now, we're talking about from the media planning end to the advertisers, and even those who create the content that goes in there. Yeah. Because clearly, we are now in a world where content is king. And if content is king, then you need to make it interactive and engaging. And with engagement, we'll see the issue about awareness, sales being uplifted, and can be measured. And you can, with the back-end data, which all of these provide you, there are no doubts at the end of the day, because that has been a challenge over time. Without a home, how can we measure? But the truth is that we've even, in this same country, we've seen a case where I was even talking to a colleague earlier today, and it made me understand that a platform did engage the use of out of home, yeah. And basically what did they do? They used to, because of the budget constraints and the particular product in question, they were able to tie their plan within a 3-4 weeks duration. And at the end of the day, they could actually tell that this is what happened during the period when we used out of home, driven by some of these dynamic content and the rest of them. So clearly, what we're about to experience is something that will change a whole lot of the way we use out of home. Because right now, we are yet to fully, harness the potential that is available with that platform.
Great. Thank you very much. We're gradually getting towards the end of the session, but I think one thing that I would say we've all said is how valuable this AI has become, especially in the nature of the business that we do. I remember a colleague of mine once saying that he was trying to hire an assistant for the longest time, and when he started using AI, he said he already has an assistant because all he needed was somebody who would help make the work faster, or who would, accelerate or help him even become more efficient. So definitely there's huge advantage, and like he also said, it's underhyped. Now to the big question, and I'm sure everybody in the room would also be open to knowing that, what do you see as the biggest challenge, or what do you see as the biggest disadvantage, right, if there is any, right, of this technology, and what is that big watch out that as creatives, as professionals, in our various industries that we should look out for, or we should be mindful of? And I'll start with you, Mr. Patrick.
Okay, so the risk is.
So just additional. So when you respond to that, let's respond to that as our final thought, and then we can take questions. Yeah. So sure. Your final thoughts.
So I will say maybe as an industry, we need to be prepared. For example, when you look at the definition of SaaS is changing. SaaS in the sense, software as a service. That's really how it started when we look at the technology adoption curve. Over a period of time, it still remains SaaS, but software has now been changed by service. So service as a software. From a former software as a service, it's now become service as a software. What do I mean by that? As agencies, we need to adapt to it. We would want to maybe upsell to our clients maybe software, because that's a software as a service. But now you imagine that you're actually selling, not software as a service, but service as a software. If you look at search is a software which we've been selling. So software, which is search engine marketing, we've been selling as an agency to our clients. But now the tables are changing, which means now you are basically selling service as the software, and those softwares we need to be creating over a period of time. Now, what you end up creating is something which is very important, right? And how you market it. So the whole suite of things we would want to develop, maybe from cross-selling perspective or upselling perspective, is something which we need to be looking at. Now, where's the risk? If you look at the risk, always there's a fear that, there might be, homogeneity, Yes, there will be, because it's predictive AI, which is trying to understand, from the past historical data. So, but I said in the beginning, it will create new content. What do I mean, or what did I mean by that is basically it gives you options. Okay, so there is, yes, it's creating something from past, but it's actually giving you options to possibly choose from the context point of view. The other risk is, homogeneity in the sense, when we clone from past, whether I'm cloning campaigns from the historical data, I'm cloning schedules from the past, will it mean that it would look more or less similar? To a certain extent, yes, but it will have a more fine-tuned and a more, well-crafted, go-to-market strategy, which means, again, it's giving you some options for you to choose. So with AI, you are basically bringing in human intelligence to ensure that you are able to choose what is best from the options that have been provided to you. So that's my take in terms of, the opportunities and the risk we see.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Patrick. Funke, your final thoughts.
Yeah, thanks. I think, personally, I think the biggest challenge, first of all, I've noticed that a lot of us kind of like distance ourselves. I did at first from using generative AI, like it's something special or something mysterious. It's actually as simple as asking a question. Just approach it, right? And as much as we've all been talking about, encouraging the use of it, embracing it and the likes, there's also the downside of it, which is why some people are afraid. Oh, they're going to become machines. They'll take over the world. If you've ever seen Terminator or iRobot, you know what we're all afraid of. There's that aspect of it, and then there's the fact that, the deep fakes, people using it, for criminal activity and the likes of it. And it will bring me back to what I said earlier about self-regulating and being responsible and ethical when using AI. I think that's a big challenge because we can only control ourselves. So there will always be outliers. Things like that would always happen. And I think that's the biggest challenge out there. To close off, like you said, I think in this conversation of generative AI, I think three things pop to be like, we'll end up somewhere in the future, and it could be any of these scenarios. Either it does augment our lives and everything is fantastic, we do better, everything works great, or we become overly reliant and AI just floods everywhere with cheap, easy, repetitive, creative that will get us out of business if we do that. Or that can dovetail into the fact that everybody now recognizes what it looks like when you see creative communication or creative work that is developed by AI, and genuine human creative work now becomes premium. And everybody can tell, like, that is what I want. Oh, yeah, this is what is everywhere, but I want genuine human-created material that is premium, that gives us that edge. And the honest truth is, we cannot tell how it will turn out. Yeah. So it's best to just do it right, embrace it, get ahead of it, do it the right way, so that at least you're assured of a good outcome at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Embrace it, use it the right way. Finally, Mr. Rewan, your final thoughts.
I think for me, my final thought is the reality that the future is here. I think we will just be fooling ourselves thinking that every other part of the world will be waiting for us for this change to happen. It's already going on. And the truth is that with the devices we hold in our hand, we are already a participant. For media owners, it's either we brace up to the challenges or we ship out. But most importantly, for every user of the platform called OOH, I think it's high time this platform has afforded us an opportunity to present our case with regards to the use of out-of-home. The reality I can tell us today is that a lot has been invested in technology from the out-of-home space and the owners of it. I think it is for our partners to begin to see how we can collaborate. Because a good number of examples that one could have cited here today are largely what you see from international brands. And most of these brands are also here. So why is that not also happening here? Those are the questions we probably would need to ruminate over. But clearly the future is here, and we're already a participant in it.
The future is here. Thank you so much, Mr. Rewan. That's a great way to end it. Thanks again, Mr. Gomez. Thank you for being on the panel. Thank you, Funke. It's been a pleasure. And we'll take a few questions. Okay, no questions. Okay, no more questions. Yes, over to you.
Thank you very much, Emeka. Round of applause to Emeka, moderator, and of course the panelists. Generative AI and the advertising industry, myths versus reality. Thank you so much for that.